This video is for lesson 1-1 about basic geometric figures. It's the first video for activity 1. Learning goals are to identify and describe points, lines, line segments, rays, and planes, and to identify and name angles. So here are a couple examples. Below are some types of figures that you've seen in earlier math classes. Describe each figure in your own words, and if you know the correct mathematical terms to identify the figures, you can use them in your descriptions. The answers in black ink in the video are the correct notations for these figures. Question 1, you might describe this as a dot labeled with a capital Q, but officially this is called point Q. Number 2, you might describe this as a line starting at a dot labeled F, passing through a dot labeled G, and then passing through a dot labeled H. You might describe that there's an arrow on one end of the line. This is called a ray, and the correct notation for the ray is ray FG, this symbol above the FG. You say the word ray, so ray FG, or you could call this ray FH. Question 3. Here you might describe this as a line with arrows on both ends of the line. The correct geometry word for this is a line. And symbols for this are line XZ. So when you see this symbol above a pair of capital letters, you speak the word line. Or you could call this line XY. Or you could call this line YZ. You could take some of these letters and put them in the opposite order and call it line ZY. So there are many ways to name this line. Number 4, here you might call this part of a line, or you might describe this as a line that has endpoints, not arrows. The official word for this is a segment. And here we can label it as segment DE. So when you see this little bar above a pair of letters, you say the word segment. Or you could call this segment ED. Switching the letters around names the same segment. Question 5, this here you might describe as a pair of rays, both starting at point A. The official name for this is an angle. And in symbols, this is angle A. So when you see this symbol here in front of a capital letter, you speak the word angle, angle A. Number 6, this is another angle. And there are different ways to name this. You could name it using a single letter if you use the vertex of the angle, so angle S, or you could name this with 3 letters, angle RST, or even angle TSR. These all name the same angle. Number 7, here is a parallelogram shape, but the reason for the parallelogram shape is to show a plane, which is an infinitely large flat surface. We could name this plane X, where you use this kind of fancy capital letter to name the plane, or you can name it using 3 points that are on the plane if the points are not in a straight line. So it could be called plane JTN or plane PTJ, etc. On the next page we see a chart that summarizes all of these things that we just discussed. So a point is named with a capital letter, and here's an example. A line is named using any 2 points on the line with the line symbol drawn above, or it can be named using a lowercase letter. Here's some examples. So for this picture, we could put a lowercase letter on there and simply call it line M. The other way to do it is with the 2 capital letters with the line symbol above. It's a little hard to read in the video because they're so small, but the line symbol is a little bar with 2 arrows on the ends. Next we had a line segment. This is named using the 2 endpoints in any order with the segment symbol drawn above. So for this picture here, we could call it segment ST or segment TS. A ray is named using the endpoint and one other point with the ray symbol drawn above. So for this drawing here, the endpoint is M, so you write the M first, then the other point on the ray, and put the ray symbol above the 2 letters. The last one that we had was a plane. A plane can be named using any 3 points in the plane that are not on the same line, or using a capital cursive letter. So for this drawing here, we could call it plane Q or plane FGH. The FGH can be in any order. Number 8, identify each geometric figure and give all possible names for the figure. So question A, this is a segment. We could name it segment QP or segment PQ. Question B, this one's a little bit different than the last one because there are arrowheads on both ends of the picture. This is a line. We could call it line NC or line CN. When you see these symbols in geometry, you speak some words for them, in this case, line. Question C, this shape here is to represent a plane. We could call it plane M, where you're using this capital cursive letter, or you could use 3 points on the plane as long as they don't line up in a straight line. So plane BGT, or you could put those letters in any order. And last, what we have here is point D. If you only write a capital letter in geometry, then we understand that to mean a point. Here's number 9. Draw ray FE. This is a little hard to read. That's a ray symbol above the FE. The first letter in the name is F, so that is the end point. Draw whatever direction you want to, and somewhere along the way put another dot and call it E. It says explain where the points are. Point F has to be the end point, and then point E is anywhere else along the ray. Number 10, to critique the reasoning of others. Caleb says that the figure below can be named line KJ. Jen says the figure can be named line JL. Who is correct? They're both correct because both of them have named the line using 2 points on the line and putting the line symbol above the 2 letters. Here are some check your understanding questions, so I'll pause the video so that you can work on these. Here are the answers to the check your understanding. Number 11, is ray SR a possible name for the figure at the right? The answer is no, because point S is not the end point. The letters are backwards in this name. Number 12, Graham draws a point. Describe how he could label and name the point with a capital letter. Here's an example of a dot labeled capital A. This is point A. Going on, there are 3 different ways to name an angle. You can use the angle symbol and a number. For example, angle 1. You can use the angle symbol and the vertex of an angle. For example, angle X, if X was the vertex point. And you can use the angle symbol and 3 points on the angle. But when you name the 3 points, the middle letter must be the vertex. For example, angle ABC would be an okay name for this angle here if that dot was the B. And then the A and the C would be those dots. Here's an example problem in your book that explains this a little bit more about angles. Here are some try these questions, so I'll pause the video and give you a moment to work on these. Here are the answers to the try these questions. In question A, this could be angle 3, angle Y, or angle XYZ, or ZYX. Notice in both cases of using the 3 letters, the letter Y, the vertex, is the middle letter of the 3. For question B, this could be labeled angle C using only the vertex dot. This could be labeled angle SCN or SCF, NCS, or FCS. In every case of using the 3 letters, notice that it is the capital C in the middle letter. Moving on, here are some check your understanding questions, so I'll pause the video for you again to work on these. Here are the answers to the check your understanding questions. Number 13, draw a figure that could be named angle LMN. Here's one possibility. The letter M is the middle letter of the name, so it must be the vertex dot. Then you can locate L and N anywhere you want to on each side of the angle. Question 14, is angle FDE a possible name for this figure? So F to D to E, yes, that does trace that angle. And explain why that is a possible name, because D is the vertex, and F and E are on each side of the angle. Number 15, how many different line segments does the figure at the right have? It has a segment from D to E and a segment from D to F, so it has two segments. In this video, we worked on identifying and describing points, lines, segments, rays and planes, and also angles.